Hi, my name's Lori. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to take a look at the differences between a couple of different cupcake techniques. Cupcakes are all the rage now, and I know all the kids love them, so we're going to see if any of these ways of making cupcakes are good at saving time, money, and how they turn out for the texture and the taste of the cupcake. So in order to start this experiment, we are going to just use a regular box mix consistency and a good fluffy recipe that we know will make good cupcakes. So we'll whip that up, put it in the different cupcake makers and see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with the regular cake mix. We are going to do the egg white version, and so that calls for 1.25 cups of tap water, as well as 4 egg whites. Just finish breaking those up real quick. There's 3. And there's 4. Okay, so the egg whites into the bowl. Husband's breakfast here for tomorrow, if he gets up to cook it, that is, and a 1/2 cup of oil. Okay, so the cake mix goes in. And starting off slow here so we don't get a mess. And we'll just let that mix together for a few minutes. Once it's incorporated, we'll turn it up a little bit. Let it mix for a couple minutes while I put some of this stuff away. I like to clean as I go. I don't like having a dirty kitchen. And this will help me focus as well. So the 3 things that we're going to be using are the oven, which I have already started to preheat, and the George Foreman Evolve grill with cupcake maker, a cupcake maker made by Holstein. So while this is mixing, I'll get those moved over here so that you can see them. This is the Holstein Housewares cupcake maker. As you can see, it's non-stick. It makes 12 cupcakes at a time. You can make them with or without the paper liners. I prefer to make them without because it's just one less step that I have to take. Every now and then I give it a quick spray with oil just to keep the non-stick up, but this is one method that we're going to use. Okay, and this is my newest one. This is a George Foreman Evolve grill system. This is a pretty nifty little system that has interchangeable plates, and as you can see, this is a deep dish plate. They say that you can bake a cake, or you can fry eggs, or you can make pancakes in it and use it as a griddle. It also has the interchangeable grill pans to cook your meats. And then it came with this cupcake pan that just sits down here, and you can do 6 cupcakes at a time. So we're going to start preheating this and preheating the Holstein. Oh, that was good timing. I just hear the oven preheater went off. So let's get these 2 started. So this will go to 350. We'll let it preheat. The Holstein Housewares cupcake maker doesn't have a temperature control, but you just plug it in. I hope your house has easier plugs than mine does. And as you can see, the red and the green light come on. That just means that it's heating up, getting ready. So once the green light goes off, that means that it's preheated and ready to go. So we'll let that one preheat, and we'll let this one preheat. In the meantime, we'll get a cupcake pan and some liners out and get ready for the oven. Okay, so we're going to start with the cupcakes in the oven. You can see we have our batter already and the oven beeped, so it's preheated. We're going to make 6 in here, and we're just going to use a regular ice cream scoop because we can make them even and all the cupcakes uniform in size. So we'll just get a dip and in they go. See if we can do this without making too bad of a mess. The box says that this should make about 2 dozen cupcakes. And the Holstein makes 12 at a time. And this will make 12 at a time. But the George Foreman only makes 6 at a time. So we'll just make 6 in here and see how it goes. Okay. So we have our first 6. The oven's preheated. I'm going to put this in the oven now for the amount of time that's listed on the box. Be right back. Okay, and for our next step is the George Foreman Evolve grill system. And we're going to line this one. I haven't used this one before, but everything says that you should use the liners in this one, so we will. And one concern I have about this is that it doesn't, when you close it, the lid comes down pretty far, and so it may smash the top of our cupcakes, but we'll try it and see what happens. These cupcakes I'm not going to fill as much for that reason. I'm afraid that they're going to top out and burn. So I'm just going to fill them about halfway full. There's 3. And there's a mess. Okay, so down goes the lid. Looks like it's down all the way. And we'll set the timer to 10 minutes. We'll make it 15. And the temperature at 350 per the instructions. The Holstein housewares. This one makes a whole dozen at a time. It is very hot. I can tell it's heated up. It's very warm. I am going to go ahead and spray this one lightly. Tops and bottoms. Every few times I use it, I do that. And I'm just going to use the rest of the batter and fill these up, as many as we can get in here. You can hear it sizzle when it goes in, so I know it's very hot and preheated. This one I am filling almost all the way up. Okay, so there's our 6 cupcakes in that one. So instead of having 12, we ended up with 6 and 6 and 6. So we'll close this one, let it cook for about 10 minutes, and we'll see how it comes out. Be right back. Okay, so we're back in the kitchen. Our George Foreman is cooking away. Our Holstein cupcake maker is cooking away, and we're going to check this to see if our cupcakes are done yet. It has 2 minutes left on the timer, but it's been cooking for about 8 minutes. So let's check it out and see if they're done. It's very hot on top. You have to really be careful. And as I suspected, they did get some grill marks on them, which we obviously don't want for cupcakes. Toothpick does come out clean, so I'm going to call these done. So let's unplug the machine. Everything is really hot. These are very hot. There's a lot of heat coming off of this, so we're just going to let them sit here and cool for now. The next machine, the Holstein, we'll unclip it here and check it out. Okay, our 6 cupcakes are definitely done, maybe a little too done. And let me unplug that. And as you can see, where I sprayed on the oil, it's kind of dripping down. So you want to be not so generous with the oil. So let's check these for doneness. They are done. And they feel a little rubbery. Not rubbery, they feel a little funny compared to the other cupcakes. But it may just be because they're so well done. So we'll take one cupcake out of here. And let's take one out of the George Foreman, and we're going to cut into them and see if we can tell a difference. The other ones are still in the oven cooking. The oven barely preheated before these are even completely done. So this cupcake sticks to the liners quite a bit. It's a much smaller cupcake, and when you cut it, it feels like it's pretty done, and it looks good. The one from the Holstein is much more, well, obviously it's a bigger cupcake because we used more batter, and it's also done pretty well in the middle, maybe a little too well done, but it feels like it's going to hold its shape better for decoration, and it has more of the consistency of a muffin feeling than actually a cupcake. I really don't like the one in these George Foreman, out of the George Foreman grill, because they are so small. They're just, you can't make them any bigger or they will burn like this one did. So we'll let these sit for a few minutes and cool off, and then when the oven timer goes off, we'll come back and get the ones out of the oven, and we'll pull one out of each of the implements again, and we'll cut those and check them and see which one we like the best. Be right back. Okay, so we're ready to get cupcake number 3 out of the oven. This one I did let cook maybe a few minutes too long, but it looks pretty good. So now we have cupcakes that were made in the oven the traditional way. Cupcake number 2 was in the Holstein maker, and cupcake number 3 was the George Foreman maker. So we'll take one cupcake from each of these and we'll slice them and compare them. I'm sure the taste will be the same, but we'll see what the texture is like and how they hold up to frosting, and maybe we'll see if there's any other kind of tips we can think of to make it turn out better the next time. So the first one, cupcake number 1, is from the oven. Now, since it was in there just a little too long, it is a little tough, not tough, it is just definitely well done. So when it comes out of the paper, it doesn't come out very well. It probably needs to cool a few more minutes before we take it out, but we still get the idea. So cupcake number 1. Number 2 is the cupcake from the Holstein maker. We'll put it right here. And then cupcake number 3 is out of George Foreman, and we'll see if it comes out of the liner a little bit better this time. See, that did come out much better of a cooled off liner than the first one. So here we are, 1, 2, and 3. Number 1, actually, if you just look at them, number 1 actually looks the best. Number 2, from a visual, looks okay, but it just doesn't quite look as fluffy as number 1. And number 3, out of the George Foreman, has the grill lines on it, and although its shape is a little better now that it's cooled off, it doesn't look so bad. But in my opinion, probably number 2 looks the best, but we'll look at texture and see what we think. So I am using my Temptations knife from QVC, which is one of my favorite places to shop. Also, as you can see in my kitchen, I have Temptations decorations all over my kitchen. I just love their stoneware, as you can see it all over my house. So here we go, cupcake number 1. That one's a little tough on top, but cuts well. The little decorations stayed nice in there, and the texture looks really good. That was the one out of the oven. Cupcake number 2 is a little harder to cut, and it's a little denser. Look at the difference between the two of these. This is the exact same batter. They both cooked maybe a couple minutes longer than they should have, and I don't know if you can see the texture or not, but this one from the oven looks much fluffier, and much lighter. This one out of the Holstein is much denser. It's very closed cell. The bubbles in the batter are very small and very close together. So let's look at number 3. Cupcake number 3 actually looks pretty good on the inside as well. So let's line them up here together. It's like a shell game. So they all look about, these two look about the same. This one from the Holstein maker is definitely much denser, and it feels much denser. It's kind of rubbery, but I'm sure it would hold up great for decorations, and I'm sure it would do just fine. The one in the oven is awesome. It's very bouncy, very light. And number 3 looks pretty light too now that it's out of the oven, and the frosting and the decorations would cover up those grill marks on the top anyway. So, good points and bad points. Number 1, the good old-fashioned baking in the oven. Takes a longer time for the oven to preheat. You can of course do 2 trays at a time, so you could do 24 cupcakes at once. You would probably want to use the liners for this one because it just makes it a little easier cleanup. Number 2, the Holstein Housewares cupcake maker. It heated up fast, it cooked really fast, it had a very good uniform cupcake. It just was a little dense. And as you can see, you could make a dozen at a time, and by the time you made a dozen of those, it would have taken a lot longer in the oven. This was the fastest. And then of course we have number 3, which is the George Foreman Evolve. Pretty color. And the cupcakes in there seem to heat up pretty fast. It preheated pretty fast. And I went and checked the directions again to make sure that I had the right grill plate on the top. And this is the one that's supposed to be on there, so you're not going to be able to make much bigger cupcakes than this. But looking at it from this angle, you can see it's a nice size cupcake, and once you put frosting on there, it would be okay. So time-wise, number 2, the Holstein wins. Fluffiness and texture-wise, I think it's a tie between the oven and the George Foreman. The George Foreman, you can only do 6 at a time, which maybe that's a good thing if you have a small family and don't need to be eating a whole bunch of cupcakes at once anyway. So there you have it, my 3 different versions of the cupcake, the classic cupcake. Now all I need to do is to get them decorated and find some kids to eat them. I hope that you've enjoyed this and will subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment, but be nice. Everybody needs to hear something nice every now and then. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know your comments. Thank you. Bye-bye.